I'm Shelley. So, you want to be a portrait artist. Well, the first thing you got to do is figure out what kind of portrait artist do you want to be? What style of painting of the portrait do you want to do? So, let me show you some examples, show you some ways that you can figure out what style of portrait artist that you want to be. Truly, this is the first step into becoming a professional portrait artist. You need a roadmap, you need a direction, a mastery level to aim for. And also, by picking the portrait style that you know you want to strive for, if you're looking for a mentor, that way you can select a mentor that paints in the style that you want to learn how to do or how to get better at. So let's get going. So our first artist to look at is Duffy Sheridan. He is a master, a living master, and he paints in a very realistic style. It's not quite hyper-realistic, almost, and he usually does more exotic paintings of like women with head wraps, women that have sort of ethereal quality. His skin tones are just simply amazing, and the detail in his features, there's just no better. Now you can take it one step further with hyperrealism. This is artist Fabiano Milani, and he is a hyper-realistic oil painter. I mean, every tiny detail in the face is painted. Maybe you're thinking you want to go in the complete opposite direction and do portraits that are more abstract in style. One of my more favorite modern portrait painters is Keehan Wiley. You may know him from the portrait painting of President Barack Obama. He takes a very realistic, almost a traditional portrait painting approach, but does it in a modern way with his very colorful, floral, repeating pattern backgrounds, and also modernizes the portrait in the clothing that he has his subjects wearing. Just beautiful portraits. So like Keehan Wiley, you may want to be known for the type of background that you utilize in your portrait paintings. Another portrait painter that is one of my all-time favorites is Cesar Santos. He has a very technical approach to the figure and the face of the portrait, but then he combines it with a more modern and playful background, and with the surrounding clothing and maybe the accessories that are the subjects are holding in the portrait. I mean, he really does take old world and combine it with the modern world. He just does it beautifully. Maybe you're thinking you'd like to take a more painterly approach, yet still have a somewhat of a realistic look to your portrait. You can see that here with Jeff Hine and Juan Martinez. They really focus on their brush strokes, and there's still a good bit of realism in their portrait, but the brushwork is really the star here. Now, I couldn't talk about portraiture style without including my mentor, artist Tina Garrett. She does a very brushy, painterly style portrait with a high degree of realism, but the brushwork here again is truly the star of the portrait. And she also paints in the selective start method, which I love, as you all know. Here's a look at an imaginative figure portrait. This is a style where, as you can see here with the Frida Kahlo double self-portrait and the David Bowers birdkeeper portrait, that you're just being very imaginative in your portrayal of your subject. And believe it or not, an unfinished or partially finished portrait is a style of portraiture, and it's quite popular these days. And you can get some beautiful results by kind of taking the same steps here that Luis Alvarez Rohr took. These next two artists, Stephen Levine and Daniel Graves, really nailed the modern feel with the more technical, traditional approach to portrait painting. The colors that they used in the skin tones and the backgrounds, very classical, very traditional, but the clothing that are on their subjects are more modern, and just the look and feel of the facial expression, especially in the goth girl, maybe it's a little bit more Renaissance-y in the girl on the right. But what a beautiful combination of classical and modern. So the colors that you choose for your portrait painting can actually dictate what your style is going to be. Here you see Irina Gordinko, hope I said that correctly. She uses very little color, if any, in her portrait painting. So the colors that you choose to use can dictate what style of portrait painter you are. Here you see color being used in a very modern way, mostly in the background, and then the actual portrait is being handled in a still somewhat of a classical technical approach. Okay, let me show you a couple of my own portraits. This is my persona portrait style. So yes, you can have more than one style as a portrait artist. Here I've combined a more classical approach to the actual face and head with a very modern appeal and situation happening around in the background. Now with my next portrait, this is a more classical style, kind of inspired by Rembrandt and some of the other master copies that I've done in the past. But this is a good classical style as compared to the persona style, which is a more modern take. So those are my two basic portrait styles. And when all else fails, you can never go wrong by following in the footsteps of the masters. Thomas Gainsborough, Vermeer, some of the very top portrait painters of their time. Then you have the masters Pablo Picasso, Vincent van Gogh. They had a more abstract or impressionistic portrait style, if you will. And then you come over to the greatest portrait painter, in my opinion, of all time, Rembrandt. I mean, look at this older gentleman's face. There's just you can't get better than that. It's just amazing. Every brushstroke, and even his lighting. I mean, he created the Rembrandt style lighting, which made a significant impact on the way that painters would light their subjects. The Rembrandt style lighting really helps to increase the 3D effect and the drama in your portrait. Thank you, Rembrandt. So I hope I've inspired you guys to go out and research. You can look in the Art Renewal Center Museum archives. They have thousands and thousands of beautiful paintings from old masters to today's top living masters. So you'll really find a style there. Maybe you go on the Met Museum site, or you can just Google different styles of portraiture and all kinds of images will come up. But really hone in on the images that sing to you, that light you up, that make you feel like, oh, I just love the look of that portrait and I really, really want to learn how to paint like that. So that's it. Portrait 101, step 1, figure out what style of portrait painter you want to be. All right, guys, see you in the next one.